The return is here, man. Nick Diaz faces off against Ruthless, Robbie Lawler, and AJ. I had a hot take, or a perceived hot take. You told me it was a hot take on the pre-show, where basically I said, "Hey, man, I don't really understand why this is happening. This fight shouldn't take place. Nick Diaz doesn't need to be fighting at 38 years old. I think Robbie Lawler is even older at 39 years old. And hearing Nick Diaz's pre-fight interview was even more alarming and telling. AJ, in summary, I don't know if you caught it or not, but in summary, he basically says, "Hey, man, I don't know why this fight's taking place. I don't love fighting." He's never loved fighting, so that's nothing new. More or less, Nick Diaz has said, like, "I just do this because the people around me won't let me stop fighting." And that was very sad in one way, and that was highlighting the point that I was making to you as to why I don't think that he should be fighting. I don't think his heart is in it. It kind of shows. What was your take from the interview, and what is your take on this fight leading up? A 38 and a 39-year-old fighting a UFC sanctioned bout, a 5-round non-title bout at 185 pounds. AJ, what are your take on this?
Well, I said it was a hot take in the last show, Derek, and then I agreed with it more, man. I felt exactly when your heart's not in it and you're swinging for your life in there, man. It's a sad thought to see when somebody else is being pressured into a fight. That's like one of the biggest things. Hot take right here. I think everybody needs to have a bully in their life so that they can understand how to overcome aspects. But one of the most frustrating things is when somebody's fighting somebody that doesn't want to fight. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're being picked on and constantly everybody's throwing you into that, that's what you don't want to see. It's hard, and it's sad to see when somebody else isn't invested in it. You know, when you're invested in it and you want to get in there and you want to scrap, yeah, we love it. But you're being pressured into by your peers. It's a rough one, man. It's a rough one. And especially with the whole weight change and the mindset that he's going into where he doesn't want to be that gangster anymore, you know, because he's teaching kids and he wants to be a good role model. Yeah, that's awesome. But then don't fight, bro. Like, be a teacher. Like, what's wrong?
Yeah, but like we're saying, right, you know, when you got a circle of people around you who won't necessarily let you leave that fight game, right, you got to do what you got to do, and it is what it is, in the words of Max Holloway and Robbie Lawler. Because Robbie Lawler, when they said, "Hey, man," and you see, folks, I have written welterweight on here at the last minute, they changed it to middleweight, so I didn't get the graphic updated in time, but as we can see clearly, I mean, Robbie Lawler says 185, 170, I don't give a damn, man. I feel good. I feel strong. I'm ready to whoop some ass. Now, this is a rematch taking place about 17 years in the making, AJ. That's the other part. What the hell? Like, come on, man. You know, are we going to do... So this is like, to me, and I don't want to like make a mockery of the talents because I'm really excited. Don't get me wrong. I love to watch Nick Diaz fight. I love to watch Robbie Lawler fight. Like, I'm excited equally for both. A little more for Diaz because I'm from Modesto. That's the hometown connection. Stockton, 209. Come on, represent. But... the thing about it is that this is like Chuck Liddell versus Tito Ortiz when they just rematched for the third time, and Tito Ortiz got the win, and Nick Diaz even said it. He was all like, "This doesn't make sense because if I win, like, all right, oh yeah, of course I'm gonna whoop his ass. I already beat his ass fucking 17 years ago. If I lose, well, I shouldn't have even fucking fought him in the first place." Like, you know what I mean? So with all the rant aside and all the, all that, I just got one final question before we actually break down the fight a little bit, AJ. I want to call into morals and ethics on this one, man. At what point do we draw the line in terms of the ethics of the fight game, of saying, like, this doesn't need to happen? Is there a line even there? Am I just being a little too judicious on this one? Like, is there a line to be had in terms of ethics in the fight game?
I think so, man. Especially with what was the last big boxing match where we saw the
Evander Holyfield versus Vitor Belfort. Evander Holyfield gets fucking block knocked off of his shoulders, man. Come on.
That's the ethics right there, man. We need to have, especially when, you know, all of us, our ego is huge. You know, if you like fighting, and especially these dudes who are actually doing it as a profession, the ego is massive. If you can't tell the people around you, yo, I don't want to do this. I don't want to fight. That's your ego coming in and saying, like, man, I got to be that dude. Yeah. And that's where we need to draw the line, because it's safety. At the end of the day, man, we don't want to see, we do want to hurt other people in the cage, obviously, but we don't want to injure people. We don't want to make it a big, actually like a big thing, you know, like a big, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but it's we got to draw the line whenever you don't want to do it. Yeah. Or when it's going to, you know, a safety issue like we saw in the Evander Holyfield fight, man. It's a rough one.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. But when it comes down to the actual fight, because it is taking place, whether we like it or not, man, -110, -110 apiece. That tells me, AJ, that the odds makers are basically saying, I don't know what the fuck is about to happen, bro. Like, we haven't seen Nick Diaz fight in 6 years. His last fight was versus Anderson Silva, where he lost 49-46 and 50-45 times two, man. It was not a good showing for Nick Diaz. That is the infamous fight where he laid down on the cage, and people memed that thing up, man, where he was just making a mockery out of Anderson Silva while Anderson Silva was just fighting his fight, teeing off on Nick Diaz, man. He's fun. He's a talker, all that good stuff. And I don't think Robbie Lawler is going to allow that, man, because Robbie Lawler, even though he's ranked number 15 in the welterweight division, undeservingly, you know what I'm trying to say, folks. I don't think he deserves it personally, man. He's been very inactive, and if we're being honest about it, man, he's lost 4 fights in a row. So to be in the top 15, I think that's based off of what you have done as opposed to what you're currently doing. Listen, no disrespect to Robbie Lawler, man. This dude's a former 170-pound champion. This dude is legit one of my favorite fighters to watch growing up, and he's still a pressure fighter to this day, AJ, man. In his last fight against Neil Magny, even though he lost that one very decisively, I think he lost it because Neil Magny says, all right, if there's one place I can't allow Robbie Lawler to have me, that's my back against the cage while he's pressuring me, trying to throw bombs at me. So what am I going to do? I'm going to grapple him up, and I'm not going to let him fight that fight. Do you think Nick Diaz can do that to Robbie Lawler?
It's hard to say because we haven't seen Nick Diaz in how many years,
6 years,
So,
yeah.
yeah, and we have seen Robbie Lawler do it. We have seen Robbie Lawler maintain that pressure. We've seen him even in his 39 years of age. He's not the ripest of fighters, but he has been losing it. Especially the I think the only fight that we can kind of give him a little bit of credit for was the Ben Askren fight. I think that one got called a little early, but other than that, those last 3, the other 3 that he's lost, he's pretty decisively lost those fights. And like you said, undeservingly, he's still ranked number 15. Man, that might just be because there's no one else really to fill those slots yet anyway. Sure. Do I think Nick Diaz can control Robbie Lawler against the cage? I don't think so, man. And I guess what time will only tell, but maybe when they were fighting younger, it could have been, but Nick Diaz has never really been that guy. He's been the fighter of death by 1,000 touches. You know what I'm saying? And he's that samurai style where he's just going to piece you up, keep hitting you, and break you down mentally. That's why I love the Diaz fighters, because they're a mental warfare kind of team. I don't necessarily know if that's going to happen against Robbie Lawler, man. He's especially the cool, calm, composed Robbie Lawler we've been seeing as of late when, like you said, on the press fighter, he's like, yeah, whatever. It is what it is. I'm good. We're going to be scrapping, whatever. And, I don't think he's going to get in that mental attitude of Nick Diaz, where I think that's where the Diaz brothers shine, man. What do you think?
Well, I know Nate Diaz, he can get up off the couch and he can have a miraculous performance, right? But even though he's been very inactive in his last 5 years of fighting, he's been a lot more active than Nick Diaz. And let's not get it twisted, man. Nick Diaz got a 5-year suspension for smoking marijuana, man, for testing positive for marijuana. Completely egregious, outrageous, nonsensical today, right? Back then, a lot of people were like, oh, yeah, of course. Fucking nonsense, man, because he was a pioneer of being a dude smoking weed and shit and popularizing it before it was popular like that. So I got to put Nick Diaz and Wiz Khalifa kind of in the same boat for just like pioneering the popularity of smoking marijuana and being able to do things that athletes do, like do triathlons, full-length triathlons, and, all the fun stuff that the Diaz brothers do. But we know Diaz is going to be in shape. He always is in shape. That's part of the lifestyle. That's what he does. But listen, man, when I saw him throwing punches just for like the little promo camera shot, man, it looked like Chuck Liddell when he was doing his stuff, man. It did not look good. I'm not excited to see this performance because I think Robbie Lawler training out of San MMA, man. He's around young, sharp killers. His main training partner right now is Jason Jackson out of Bellator, who, if you don't know, he just got a big win over Neiman Gracie, man. This was a very, very big win, and Neiman Gracie just knocked out his opponent in his last fight. So I'm saying, like, you got high-level athletes that he's competing with day in and day out, being the OG that's still able to hang with the young bucks, man. I think Robbie Lawler is going to put it on Nick Diaz, AJ, if I have to do this premonition correctly, unfortunately. But I will have to say the thing that I hope gets brought out is the third-degree BJJ black belt under Cesar Gracie that Nick Diaz has, man. We can't forget, this dude is a BJJ, I mean, what do you want to call it, man? Expert. Like I said, third-degree black belt under the Gracie lineage. So I know we said that's not normally what we see, but Robbie Lawler maybe getting a little reckless. I don't know. Nick Diaz grabbing a guillotine, just trying to get him out of there, grab the triangle, something. Are we seeing T-City from Nick Diaz this week? You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't really have too much to say on this one, man, besides some notable wins, which include BJ Penn, Frank Shamrock, Paul Daly, Gleason Tibau, and Robbie Lawler for Nick Diaz. And for Robbie Lawler, Carlos Condit, Johnny Hendricks, Matt Brown, Rory McDonald ×2, and Josh Koscheck. Clearly two legends of the game, two dudes who are going to be in the Hall of Fame. Give me your pick, AJ, and why.
Yeah, two legends of the game, and both the -110 on the odds. Man, this one's a hard one to pick. Um, Personally, I'm worried about the layoff. I'm worried about Diaz and the fact that he's he's been training. He's been
Yeah.
getting it done. He's been in the gym, but there's something in his mentality that says he doesn't necessarily want to fight. When you have other people doing it, it's very worrisome. Um, Although, all that being said, I felt it was sacrilege not to go with the Diaz brothers on this one, man. I'm going Nick Diaz, excuse me. Decision win. I know it's a 5-rounder, and I think that might add to the fact, and maybe we'll see some Brazilian jiu-jitsu come out of Nick Diaz. I'm hoping for something miraculous. I'm going a little against the grain on this one and kind of putting my pick up there in the air for this one, man. I'm going Nick Diaz by decision. What about you, Derek?
I'm with you, man, and I agree. It is sacrilegious for me not to pick Nick Diaz. I am from the 209, man. I know all the people is at home rooting for the man, and like I said, because I care about, he's had such an inspiration for me as a child in my childhood growing up and whatnot. I don't want to see the man fighting at all right now. So I got to pick for Robbie Lawler, man, because at the end of the day, I think that this is what happens when you don't have people around you who are able to hit the brakes and be like, hey, I care about you. Don't do this, right? Nate Diaz, he's like, listen, man, you're my big brother. Nick Diaz Army, do whatever you need to do. But I don't see a future in the middleweight or welterweight division for Nick Diaz currently, really for Robbie Lawler either, excuse me. So Robbie Lawler, decision win, man. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a lot of talking, man. Let's not forget, before Kevin Holland, Nick Diaz is the original big mouth, man. Don't forget, people. What are we talking about, man? So I got Robbie Lawler by decision. Should be a good one, man, but I don't got much else to say on that. So let's move on.